Hello, it's April from April's Home, and today I'm here to share with you my July garden. So it is the end of July. I meant to update sooner than this, but we have had a very busy July. The garden is a little bit beat up by some of the hot weather that we've been having, but as you can see here, there are still a lot of really beautiful flowers. I definitely need to get back out here and weed, but again, with the hot temperatures, I haven't been rushing out here to weed as much as I need to, so that's definitely something that I need to do quite a bit more this week and all throughout August, of course. And I hopefully will do another update around mid-August when some of the different veggies and stuff start coming in. So here are some beautiful zinnias here. They turned out to be orange color. I didn't know what color they'd be when I got them. These are the ones I ordered from Azure Standard. We have our little fern and our little cedar tree that's doing really well now that I've repotted it here. Our little hydrangea is doing okay, but you can see some sunburned parts on it, and the flowers are kind of drying up at this point. And then a beautiful little sunflower planted itself right here next to it, and it's kind of providing it with some nice shade, so I decided to go ahead and leave that there. Got a little white zinnia here. And then our trees are doing great. Sadly, not our little rhododendrons. They just do not take the heat very well. I need to go through and pull off some of these dead leaves and things like that, especially as fall approaches. I'm hoping it will bounce back. Over here are our two pots that we planted up with some beautiful snapdragons and marigolds and two blueberry plants. These are first year blueberry plants, so I don't know that we'll get any blueberries this year, but the pots themselves are really, really pretty. I love this color of snapdragon. Then behind these little blueberries is my asparagus garden here. Let's see if I can back up a little bit. You can see the asparagus are asparagus ferns right now, far taller than me. Definitely a couple feet taller than me right now. We finally got this all weeded really nicely and some mulch laid down. So we'll go ahead and walk back in this garden now. At the entrance to this little garden here, and you'll have to excuse the very loud air conditioner in the background there. We've got some beautiful cosmos that just grew so tall and beautiful. In between here is a blueberry, and it looks like we have some fresh blueberries in there. We'll have to pick those with my grandson. He loves picking berries with grandma out in the garden. But these plants are big and beautiful, and they are protecting that blueberry from the hot summer. So these are going to be really pretty when they blossom. So this is the little asparagus garden. We've got like a little makeshift pathway through all the asparagus ferns. You can see some sedum along the fence there. And then we'll walk down the path at the end of the asparagus garden. We have a little berry patch here, and you can see my thornless blackberries are doing really beautifully. They are covered in blackberries. They're not ripe yet, but they're going to be soon, and I'm so excited that we have such a nice amount in our tiny little garden. So I'm very excited about that, and it is so nice that they're thornless. Here are our raspberries. We've been picking these as they come on fresh. A few of them ended up getting dried out in the sun before we could get to them, but I'm hoping the birds will enjoy those. But there you can see a nice fresh raspberry there. I think you can see that in the sun. It's kind of hard, but I bring my grandson back here again and we find the fresh ones, and he really enjoys that. For some reason, the blueberries on this side of the garden are not producing any blueberries yet. This is their second year over here, so I am hoping that they're a late variety, and so we'll have to see if they are or aren't, and otherwise I will have to give them some special plant food for blueberries and see if that helps them out for next year. But otherwise, as far as the plants go, they're doing pretty well. Okay, so now back to the other part of the garden through the asparagus field here. So then back outside in this garden is our little apple tree, and it is not doing very well. It is covered in little spotty bits on all of the apples. Some of them have been sunburned, and I know I need to treat this tree with something. I was trying to do it to grow this tree without adding anything to it, but that is just not going to happen here. So I think I need to do a little bit more research and find the most healthy and safe treatment that I can give to this tree here to address whatever is going on with the apple tree. If you are an apple tree grower and you have any suggestions, I would love to hear that down in the comments below. So over here we have our little flower garden, and the petunias and snapdragons are doing great. Same with the little geranium back there. These are turning like a buttercream color. The sun has bleached them out a bit, but they are kind of like this stripy, beautiful flower here. And you can see my little olive tree is doing great. Let's see if I can find some of the little teeny tiny olives that are growing right there. So I'm very excited to see if this grows or not, or what it does. It's just the first year we've had it, but so far it's doing great. Definitely needs a little water today. Again, it's been really hot. We've got some flowers hiding in here. Finally, the fig tree caught back up, and you can see some of the little baby figs on the branches there. They got kind of a late start, but I'm hoping they'll catch back up. And we have a bunch of weeds here underneath the bird seed. Now we've got some sunflowers growing here that I'm excited about. A lot of the sedum is blooming. I think that that's always so pretty when it does that. Here is our other poor sad little rhododendron that just got so burned. And then surrounding it is this giant nasturtium that planted itself here. And it's of course also getting a little bit tired in the sunshine here, but it is still just putting out the most beautiful blooms. And it's kind of helping to protect the under part of that rhododendron that I'm hoping survives. Here are more of our pretty little petunias here. Beautiful striped petunias. And we've got some blueberries down in there as well. Still waiting for them to ripen up, but hopefully soon. Here's another little pot of these same petunias. I put them throughout the garden. They're just so pretty. And then over here by my little bench across from the chicken coop, we have some hens and chicks that are growing this year. They have flowered this year. They put out these really tall stalks and the flowers. One of my nasturtiums from my garden has grown through the garden bench here. I've just left it because I think it's really pretty. Here's our other apple tree. It is also not doing pretty well. Some of the apples up on the top seem okay. I really need to thin them out so they can get air around some of the better ones, but most of them are not doing really well. So I think I need to do the same thing with this apple tree as with the other tree. Got some plants in here and some weeds that I need to take care of. These adorable little teeny tiny sunflowers that have grown in here. I just picked up this the other day. Is some Monarda, a balmy purple Monarda. Looks like it's going to be very pretty for the bees. And we have got a ton of morning glory. I don't know where it came from, but it decided to plant itself here this year, as well as some little nasturtiums that are growing. But as you can see, I'm going to have to unweave this. Even though it's so pretty right now, it is surrounding my little rose, my new rose here. It had one blossom on it this year, and it did okay. It was very pretty. So some pretty little flowers over here, and definitely some weeding needing to be done. I always hate weeding all the morning glory, but they will choke out the rest of the plants. As you can see, they spread all over this garden in just a couple of weeks. Okay, so it is now the next day. I decided to wait a little bit. The sun was just too bright, and I was not able to focus on the different plants and things. So here we are now in the side garden. That is my vegetable garden, and these are the green beans. I really should have thinned these out quite a bit more, but I didn't. They are doing well. You can see the little green beans there, and some that are ready to pick right here. So we'll definitely be picking these this weekend with my family. The tomatillos this year are not doing very well. I'm hoping that they will pick up here in a bit. I think I'm going to go ahead and feed them a little bit. Here are the peppers. Again, this year they are a little bit slow. I think it's because of that cold start we had. But they do look like they might catch up in time for the fall. Here are our pretty cosmos. Look at, there's such pretty little flowers here. It's very, very pretty. So I have a couple of cosmos that I planted along with a marigold in the pepper bed here, and they're just huge. Compared to the peppers this year, but I think that's okay. They're very, very pretty. Over here, I have just some random plants and a lot of weeding to do. Over here, we've got some nasturtium that planted itself. Our basil's doing nicely. These little black violas are very pretty. The lettuce is starting to bolt a little bit. I keep trying to pinch it back, but it's just that hot time of year when it does that. There are still plenty of lettuces, though, to grab for a quick sandwich and things like that, so it's really nice to have that. And the nasturtiums have really helped the garden this year. Just looks so beautiful. This is a pink lemonade blueberry, and it's been 3 years and it is yet to do anything. So it's probably like a soil condition or something like that that I'll have to work on. But in the meanwhile, I have a beautiful nasturtium to enjoy. Over here are a little bit of our kale plants and then some really tall and beautiful artichokes here. There's one right here you can see. It's very pretty. The color there, the bees love them. Here's our little teeny tiny corn stalks. I just grew those for decorative purposes. They are really, really super small, which is to be expected considering the small pot. But I was thinking they'd grow a little bit taller, but even if they don't, it'll be cute for decorative purposes in the fall. Here is our big gooseberry bush, and you can see plenty of gooseberries on the branches here. I'll probably pick those this week as well. There's a lot to harvest in the garden. And over here, this is that little succulent garden. We got most of the grass out at one point, but a lot of it grew back. So it's just kind of a battle with this little garden this year. We'll see if we can get that under control sometime before the end of summer. But in the meantime, this is one of my favorite succulents. It grows so nicely. It stays in bloom like this all summer long. So that is just very pretty. I love that. It's kind of grown all along this border here. It's very pretty. We've got some currants here in the back. You can see some black currants here ready to pick. Some little red ones there. Probably really almost past the time to be picked. I need to pick those this week as well. Then over here we have a huge section here of oregano. I really wanted to trim this back beforehand, but I just couldn't bring myself to, considering how much the bees love it. So I'm going to let this go. You can see the bees there having some fun getting their pollen. So I'm just leaving it. Let them have their fun with all of these pretty flowers. When it's done flowering, I'll trim it back a little bit. And you can see my garlic here. It is ready to harvest. I'll be harvesting that later today. We have a big harvest here. The oregano kind of took over this bed. That's okay. It smells delicious. Again, the bees love it. We've got lots of garlic here. Here's more of our garlic. This is the bed that was all garlic, but half of it was destroyed by a local cat that decided to make this area a bed for a little while and dig in it and do other things that cats like to do in the garden. So I cleaned this half of the bed out, had to get rid of the garlic that had been knocked over. Some of it was actually pretty good still. But instead I grew some comfrey plants back here and some mullein in the front here. And of course also this garlic is still also ready to go. So we'll have a lot of garlic, plenty for us and some of the family to share too. And with the comfrey, I've learned a little bit about how to process this. This is ready to pick and dry. I'm going to dry the leaves of both plants. Both of them have some medicinal properties. So the comfrey is not something that is edible, but it is something that has some uses. I'm going to kind of play around with both of those and see what I can do, make some things with that. I'm really excited about that. They grew, as you can see, they grew beautifully. I'm not going to harvest all of the leaves here. I want to leave some here to support it when it flowers, because I'd love to see what the flowers look like on both of these plants here. They're just beautiful. I love these big, beautiful green leaves. It's just looks wonderful. And of course, I've got some snapdragons and some marigolds, and you can see tons of chives here. I've got little okra plants in here, but they're currently being hidden by the big comfrey and mullein leaves. But you can see a little tiny okra here, so that's really exciting. There's another one on the plant right back here. I took those in really late in the season, but I'm still excited to watch those grow. Here is our other tomatillo plant, and again, it's not doing great. It's got some blossoms on it, so we might see some action, and again, I need to come out and feed those, I think. And then here is my crazy tomato patch. This is mostly aroma tomatoes, and down at the end, some little cherry tomatoes, some, I believe, sun gold and yellow pear of the little tiny varieties down here, and then of course Roma's here. I really need to get in here and thin this out a little bit. just to give some aeration to these plants here. But you can see some lovely tomatoes getting growing. And it looks like living here in amongst the tomatoes, which I'll have to be cautious of when I harvest them, is a friendly little garden spider. I actually love these. They look so beautiful. In the fall, they get really big and build those beautiful orb webs. These are one of the few spiders that I do not mind. There are some other really big, bad spiders that live around here, and I don't really appreciate those as much. But these pretty things do not bother me at all. And then in the back of the tomatoes here is one big giant potato plant that we let grow back here. And when we harvest these tomatoes, we'll dig up some potatoes. Over here is my sad little currant bush. It's got something going on here. I knew that something was going on with this at the beginning of spring when the leaves kind of wilted up like this. I need to figure this one out. But you can see it didn't stop it from producing some really nice currant berries there that are ready to pick. And then we have our sage here. It's just finishing up its blooming. Here you can see a few little purple flowers left there. I always leave this again for the bees until it's completely done. You can see here I've started to trim away the tops a bit to let this fresh new growth through. But again, I always like to leave that for the bees as long as possible. Here is our rosemary. It's coming back nicely from, I did a really hard prune on this at the beginning of the year, and it's coming back nicely. I still need to address these bigger branches in the back. Here is some more of our kale. Some of it is bolting. You can see what happens when it goes all the way to seed. These are little kale seeds inside here. So I'm going to leave this and harvest these when they dry. But in the meanwhile, we have been enjoying this kale especially, and also my chickens absolutely love it. I always pick them some of the big leaves when I'm out here, and they just love that. Most of our lettuce has been harvested and enjoyed by both our family and the chickens. We've been using these for sandwiches and on hamburgers and things like that during barbecues. And then here is our big grape plant. It's so pretty. You can see some of the grapes getting ready here. Look at all of those bunches of grapes. And we finally started to get these up on wires. It was a little late in the season, so we still need to get some of these vines back onto those wires. But it is so much better than it was before. Before we got the wires in, it was coming clear out across the path. You can see there are still some here, but it's doing much better. And I'm really excited to have these on wires now. It'll make it so much easier to work with. Here are some more nasturtium, and then quite a bit of sun here. I need to maybe move this plant to shade. This is a lingonberry bush, and it really needs the shade, so I definitely need to move that. We've got some more currant plants. These ones are doing really nicely. You can see currants on those. And over here, some pretty little moss here. And then down here, we've got some blueberries and some salmon berries doing okay as well. Got a couple blueberries on there. Again, I love to leave the blueberries that are ripe for my grandson to find when he's out here with me. And then this little back corner still needs some work. We just have not gotten to this throughout the summer yet. And the sun is coming out again, so it's getting hard to see the plants again. Tucked down in here, you can see this really pretty maidenhair fern. And of course, my big sword fern here growing through my maple. It's so pretty. So that is this garden. Again, kind of a little beat up from the hot sun and some weeding needing to be done, but otherwise very pretty. I'm excited to get to harvesting some of these things really soon. And then this is our other side garden here. You can see my dog down there at the end. Never did get this rock pile into the succulent garden. I want, hopefully towards the end of summer or fall, when it starts to be a little cooler to work out here, I can tackle that project. Here are the new grapes that we got this year. They are doing really well. I was really worried about them. They got caught in a cold snap at the beginning of our spring, and I wasn't sure that they would make it back, but we do have poles to get these up on wires really soon, because I think next year these should start producing grapes for us over here. So I'm really excited about that. Here are our little potatoes in the potato grow bags. Some of them are ready to harvest. It's very interesting. They are all different varieties, but like this one is no longer green, whereas all of these are. So I'll be really curious what potatoes are in here. So I'll have to film that when I harvest these as well. And here is my zucchini patch. You can see zucchini are ready to pick. We will probably have some of these for dinner tonight. Look at that. Beautiful fresh zucchini all through here. So really, really pretty. Just love squash flowers. They're so beautiful. And then down here we have some of our little berries. I believe this is a Marionberry. It had one berry on it, which I thought was really, really fun. I think that's just about ready to harvest. And we will try this berry. And the next year it should be pretty big. Again, we'll put the wires up along this fence for all of our berries. Then we've got some little yellow squashes growing here. There's quite a few on this. So we'll see how well these do. Being in this little raised pot here, they're kind of a tiny variety, but interested to see how those turn out. And then this one here is a boysenberry. And it is coming along nicely. Again, at the first of spring, it was a little iffy. You can see some of the damage on those plants, but the leaves that have grown since are doing really nicely. So we'll also get those up on wires at the end of summer. And here is our little pumpkin patch. It is not doing as well. It's getting some of the like powdery mildew type issues that do happen with squash. I think I'm going to try to hand water these rather than let the sprinkler go over them. I think that might be what's causing it. But like these back here, the new growth, hopefully that will do okay. Some of these do have little pumpkins on them, so we'll see if we end up with any little pumpkins anyway. There's a bee here enjoying the squash flower. So that's nice. But yeah, so we do need to address these a little bit and see if we can't pull them back to get us a couple of pumpkins before the end of the season. And interestingly, this little area is just not growing at all. I'm not sure why they're choosing to come forward like this, but perhaps it's just where the light is hitting over here. But definitely a lot of big, beautiful flowers. So again, we'll give these some food and hand water them and see how they do. So that is our garden so far here at the very end of July. It'll be exciting as the harvest season comes along and as the weather starts to cool down. Oftentimes the garden starts to return to a more lush looking environment. Of course, the summer heat often does take a toll on some of the plants. But I think everything's looking really pretty nice. There's a little ladybug helping out. That's always nice to see. So now I think I will walk around and get my garlic harvested and some of these zucchinis and things like that. Here is my garlic harvest. You can see I have a whole bunch here laying out and drying. I'll be trimming that up and bringing it inside. So I hope you enjoyed taking a look at my end of July garden. I'll be back next month with another garden update. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.